The U.S. car market is hiding a catastrophic secret. What started as a pandemic boom has officially become the biggest auto market bubble in history, and it has just burst. This isn't a slow correction, it's a full-blown financial and fraud crisis you need to understand right now. We're talking about a terrifying collapse defined by $9.2 billion in fraud, a shocking 1.73 million vehicle repossessions, a number that perfectly matches the Great Recession, and a 30% insurance spike that is literally making it impossible for millions to legally drive. The warning signs are flashing bright red, and I have the undeniable proof, including the dark, unknown traps dealers are setting to keep the whole system from imploding. The definitive evidence that the entire house of cards is finally falling came in September 2025 when the subprime auto giant Tricolor Holdings filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, a complete liquidation. 65 dealership locations across 6 states simply vanished overnight. But when the bankruptcy trustees started digging through the books, they found a pervasive fraud of extraordinary proportion. The company had allegedly double-pledged at least 29,000 loans to multiple banks simultaneously. Think about that for a second. The exact same cars were used as collateral for different loans at different banks, effectively creating over $1.1 billion in missing assets. The victims weren't just the major financial players like Fifth Third, J.P. Morgan, and Barclays. They were the deep subprime borrowers Tricolor targeted, 68% of whom had no credit score, and over 50% didn't even hold a driver's license. When defaults started spiking, they allegedly began double-pledging collateral just to keep the lights on. But this collapse is not an isolated incident. It's just one symptom of a much wider ticking time bomb. This entire crisis is actually defined by a completely split market, and only one side is financially drowning. Subprime 60-day delinquencies just hit an all-time record high of 6.56%, a rate that actually exceeds anything we saw during the Great Recession's darkest days. Compare that to prime borrowers, who the Federal Reserve calls in pristine condition, with a meager 0.34% delinquency rate. The true crisis is a debt-time bomb. And here is the unbelievable part. The Fed found the core issue isn't high interest rates. It's the sheer massive size of the loans. The average subprime loan jumped an alarming 26% since 2020. Cars got expensive. People borrowed far more than they could afford. And now they are completely underwater. Generation Z is leading the delinquency charge at 7.5%, stuck in $750 plus monthly payments on cars that are already worth thousands less than they owe. But the reckless lending that created this mess is now being actively encouraged right now, risking a devastating 2008 repeat that would shock everyone, as major banks like Capital One and KeyBank are actively fleeing the auto lending market. One titan is making an absolutely predatory move. Wells Fargo is piloting a program that should terrify every consumer. They are allowing borrowers with FICO scores as low as 540 to get loans up to 150% of the car's value. That is not a mistake. For a $20,000 vehicle, they are handing over a $30,000 loan to a borrower with terrible credit. While Wells Fargo says they are testing lending solutions, the translation is this: they are pushing predatory loans at insane loan-to-value ratios to borrowers who are almost guaranteed to default. This is exactly the kind of reckless financial behavior that caused the last major crash. Now, pile this on top of the national negative equity crisis. A staggering 39% of all finance drivers are now underwater, owing an average of $6,754 more than their car is worth. If they try to trade in, that debt is simply rolled into the new, larger, higher interest loan, trapping them instantly in a financial spiral they can't escape. But as millions of borrowers sink, a different problem is creating a crisis that affects every single driver, an insurance nightmare, and a theft catastrophe. The financial strain is being accelerated by an insurance crisis that is making it impossible for millions to get coverage. Auto insurance is up over 30% in just the last 3 years. In states like Colorado and North Carolina, the increases have hit 25% in a single year, forcing families to choose between car payments and food. The Kia Hyundai crisis is catastrophic. Models from 2011 to 2022 lacked immobilizers, and the notorious TikTok Kia challenge showed thieves how to steal them in seconds with a simple USB cable. These brands now account for 66% of all current thefts, and the terrifying consequence is this. Major carriers like State Farm, Progressive, and Allstate have completely stopped writing new comprehensive policies for these affected models. If you own one of these cars, even with the anti-theft software updates, you literally cannot get full coverage insurance from the major carriers. This, combined with soaring repair costs, a simple $2,800 fix in 2020 now costs $4,500 due to complex electronics and imported parts, is driving up rates for everyone in the country. And if you think gas cars are safe from wealth destruction, the secret downside of the EV revolution is about to wipe out your investment. Used electric vehicles are suffering the fastest depreciation in America. They are losing nearly 60% of their value over just 5 years, far outpacing the industry average. Tesla, the supposed pioneer, is actually the biggest destroyer of wealth. The company's constant aggressive price cuts on new models are completely demolishing the used market, causing early buyers to face staggering $20,000 to $30,000 losses overnight for the simple crime of buying at the wrong time. The problem is not an overblown fear of battery replacement. Costs have plummeted for that. The real issue is technology obsolescence. Who would buy an older EV with a limited 200-mile range and outdated software when new models push 350 miles and feature far superior 350-kilowatt charging speeds? The federal $7,500 tax credit has now expired, and without that incentive, EV sales are falling, and used prices are collapsing even faster. But whether you buy a gas car or an EV, the scams and hidden damage in the used market are now at a level that guarantees you'll be a victim unless you know these secrets. The total cost of auto lending fraud for 2025 is a staggering $9.2 billion. What is truly shocking is that 69% of it is first-party fraud, which means lying by the borrowers and dealers themselves, using fake pay stubs, inflated incomes, and fabricated jobs. The newest, most terrifying threat is AI fraud, with deepfakes and synthetic identities creating $3.3 billion in loans to people who don't even exist. Now, for the physical fraud, the flood vehicle threat. After 2024's hurricanes, 347,000 flood-damaged vehicles with clean titles are being moved into states with weak regulations, ready to be sold to unsuspecting buyers. Dealers are using title washing to erase the flood brand, making them undetectable to an average buyer. And don't forget the classic odometer fraud, which now affects an estimated 2 million vehicles. Digital odometers are easier than ever to tamper with. A simple electronic tool plugs into the car's diagnostic port and reprograms the mileage in minutes. So with the crisis everywhere you look, what is the single most important thing you can do right now to survive the crash? The largest car market bubble in U.S. history just popped. Subprime delinquencies are at record highs, repos are matching the Great Recession, and lending fraud is a billion-dollar epidemic. The new car market, stuck at 15 to 16 million units, will not return to normal until 2028. If you are buying a car right now, you must arm yourself with this knowledge. Wait if you possibly can. The market has not bottomed out, and prices have more room to fall. If you must buy now, follow 2 core rules to avoid the traps. First, get pre-approved from a local credit union. Their rates are almost always 1 to 2 points lower than big banks. Second, and this is the most critical point, never, under any circumstances, roll negative equity from an old car into your new loan. If you are $5,000 underwater, you will be trapped immediately. Put down at least 20% and keep your loan term to 60 months maximum. You now have the full scope of the crisis, the secrets behind the Wells Fargo lending, the threat of flood cars, the EV depreciation time bomb, and the exact information you need to protect yourself from the greatest auto bubble pop in U.S. history. This information could save you thousands or prevent a catastrophic financial mistake. So there it is, the absolute, undeniable proof. The largest car market bubble in history has popped. You've seen the fraud, the catastrophic delinquencies, the Wells Fargo loans that defy logic, and the silent wealth destruction of the EV market. Most Americans are still buying into the lie, but you now have the truth. You know that the market won't recover until 2028. If you take nothing else away from this, remember the single most important rule to protect your money. Never roll negative equity into a new loan. It's a debt trap you won't escape. Now you're armed with the information to spot the scams, the flood-damaged titles, the digital odometer rollbacks, and the predatory lending designed to keep you underwater. Your power in this collapsing market is your knowledge. Hit that subscribe button right now to keep getting the secrets that will help you survive this crash and profit from the chaos. If you know anyone, a friend, a family member, a coworker, who is even thinking about buying a car, you need to share this video with them. You could be saving them thousands of DMN dollars or preventing a catastrophic financial mistake. The crash is here. Stay ahead.